Night from all over the state of Arkansas, including a lot of politicians. And stay tuned, because in just a few minutes, Carissa Rushing, who is Miss Arkansas, is going to be tasting barbecued raccoon for the first time in her young life as well. So stay tuned for that. I give you the menu tonight. 2,000 pounds just beyond that door back there. 2,000 pounds of barbecued raccoon have been going on the grill since New Year's Day, friends. And we've got about 10 bushels of sweet potatoes, 100 pounds of rice, and 14 whole hams right here for these 1,100 patrons that are going to be here in Gillette, Arkansas. 48 years this has been going on. It's getting bigger and bigger every year. This thing has been sold out for over 2 weeks now, and every year more and more people want to get in here, but they can only hold about 1,100 people. And it's a popular event every year, and kind of a start of the year here in southeastern Arkansas for a lot of the farmers and businessmen. We've got an interesting night ahead. I do want to touch base on the weather seriously, because there could be some problems tonight and tomorrow morning, especially in the northwestern part of the state. Let's take a look at a special map that we prepared for you, and we can see that a freezing rain advisory is in effect for the northwestern part of the state. Actually, the advisory is in effect from around Mena, Arkansas, up to Conway, north to near Mountain Home. Anything northwest of that line will be experiencing some freezing rain later on tonight. Possibility of some freezing rain also in the central and northeastern sections of the state, but temperatures should be warm enough in the extreme southern areas, including here in Gillette, that we are only going to experience rain tonight and early tomorrow morning. All of this activity will change over to rain by around midday tomorrow, but there could be enough to cause some travel problems later on tonight around the state. Temperatures 30, humidity 75%, barometer is falling at 30-42 inches. Winds are out of the east at 9, we have cloudy skies. 30 the high, 24 the overnight low, we've had no rainfall. Sunrise at 7:17, sunset at 5:12. Around the state we go with clouds from top to bottom. 27 with freezing rain being reported at Harrison, 32 at Jonesboro, 30 at Little Rock, 34 at Fort Smith, 33 with some freezing rain throughout the day at Fayetteville, 30 at both Little Rock and Hot Springs, 41 degrees at Texarkana, and 43 at El Dorado, 32 at Pine Bluff. Now, the satellite photograph this afternoon is going to show us plenty of clouds. If you look to the west, a large area of low pressure is over the southwest and south central United States. It's pushed out of the southwest and is moving into the central plain states, and we have very cold Canadian high pressure in place. And what that spells is trouble, because moisture is moving in from the southwest on top of very cold surface temperatures, and that's causing widespread freezing rain and sleet. Underneath the cloud cover, you can see that the freezing rain and sleet continues from northern Arkansas all the way up into Kansas, Nebraska. As a matter of fact, it's pretty well covered over Oklahoma and Texas, where freezing rain and winter weather advisories are in effect. A quick check with Weather Track 7 color radar will show us that shower activity in the form of some freezing rain continues just dotted along the northern border regions of Arkansas, from around Bull Shoals Reservoir to West Plains, Missouri, north to near Springfield. The rest of the state pretty much dry, or the rain is too light to be detected, but we suspect later on tonight shower activity will increase across the state. On the map for tomorrow, look at the mess. Low pressure pulls to the north and east. A trough of low pressure will cause widespread rain from the eastern United States down to the Gulf Coast through Arkansas. A swath of freezing rain back into New Mexico, the Oklahoma Panhandle, into northern Arkansas, and then plain old good old-fashioned snowfall as a new Arctic front pushes south. So it looks like a freeze and rain advisory is in effect for the northwestern part of the state for tonight. 50% chance of freezing rain for north and central sections tonight into early Saturday morning, lows below freezing. Then for tomorrow morning, freezing rain advisory for the northwest. Freezing rain early in the central areas as well, 50% probability. But it'll be changing over to rain tomorrow afternoon, 70% chance of widespread rain with a high temperature of 40 degrees. Southeasterly winds will warm things up a bit. And for tomorrow night, we'll see cloudy skies, again a 60% chance of showers with a low of 38 degrees. And then the extended forecast calls for mostly cloudy skies with scattered showers in the morning on Sunday, high of 42. Monday, rain chance in southern Arkansas, and Tuesday, rain statewide, and temperatures will remain well below normal. Fish and game graph for tomorrow. Early morning will be the best but the worst to travel as far as freezing rain is expected. The weekend weather scale, not too good. We gave it a 4 on the weekend weather scale. Carissa Rushing is with us, Miss Arkansas, and this has got to be one of the first big events of the year for you.
Yes, I'm starting off the year with a bang, though, here at the Coon Supper.
Have you ever been to the Coon Supper before?
No, I haven't, but I've heard a lot about it.
Are you going to entertain? We've got the group setting up there. Are you going to sing with them tonight?
Yes, I am. Not with the band.
You brought a tape to sing with.
Right.
Great. And you're going to be giving up your crown in July in Hot Springs.
That's right.
It's been a good year for you?
Oh, so far, yes. Great. It's been wonderful.
Now, Have you ever tasted raccoon before?
No.
Just so happens that I have a sample of this delicious food here for you. This is,
Okay.
let me give you this fork right there.
Okay.
Now, right there, this is the first time, drum roll please. What do you think?
It's very good.
It is?
It'd be better with barbecue sauce.
Well, we'll go get some more barbecue sauce. That's not too bad, though. We need to get Andy Pearson and Gina Curry down here next year.
It's great, right.
Ned, you're going to need a lot more barbecue sauce, aren't you?
Yeah, not a lot more. Paul Eels will be up in just a minute, and maybe he'll taste some of this delicious raccoon as well. We'll see you at 10 o'clock. Thanks, Carissa.
I think he was tasting the coleslaw.
I think it tastes like chicken. He said.
Yeah, I don't think he's really ever tried it.
Paul Eels also in Gillette. He's coming up with sports next. Paul Eels also in Gillette, standing by with our sports today, Paul. And I don't know, raccoon hunting is a sport, I suppose, isn't it?
I would imagine it would be, Andy, although Ned asked me if I was going to eat some, and I said I never eat dinner before I'm through working, and then I've got a lot of picking up to do
Sure,
so
Paul.
far. But a man who has tasted much of this coon dinner over the years is Congressman Bill Alexander. Bill, it's good to see you, and
Thank you,
Happy
Paul.
New Year.
Thank you. Same to you. I don't guess I've seen you. Certainly hadn't seen you here since last year. I guess I've seen you in Little Rock a time or two.
And last year, I put you on the spot a little bit and asked you to take a look at the Super Bowl. Would you do that for
Well,
us
you know,
again?
we just come up this weekend on the first round of the playoffs, and of course I got to pull for the Redskins. I've been watching them so long, but they got a long way to go. If they get past Philadelphia, I'll be surprised. No way this far ahead of time, you know, to go out on that much of a limb to pick who's going to be in the Super Bowl, but I'll sure be watching it along with everybody else.
Congressman, I know you're a big sports fan. This is really, this was conceived, I guess, to honor the high school athletes, but it's turned into one of the big political shows of the year, especially at the start of the year.
Well, it's the main event in Gillette. It's a good way to start the year off and supporting the home team and supporting the community. The community here raises money for its sports activities with this one particular event each year, and it provides for the needs of the athletics all year long. It's worthwhile. It's something I like to support. And not only am I a sports fan, when I think of the good it does to support our athletics in small towns and to keep our kids happy and busy and in a wholesome environment, that's a wonderful thing when you have the experience of seeing. Just this morning I watched on TV in Washington the new mayor talk about 700 murders last year in Washington, D.C., and many of them were teenagers. It makes you want to come to support more events like this.
Congressman, it's always wonderful to see
you, Paul.
and we
Good to
wish
see
you
you.
a Happy New Year.
We'll get a bet together on one of these games coming up, okay?
All right, as long as you're going to take Washington, I'll go with Philadelphia. Right off the reel.
That sounds like a deal. You got a bet.
Congressman Bill Alexander with us, and he, of course, is one of the key people that year in and year out support this outstanding dinner. Talking about football, Jack Crow has been recommended for a new 5-year contract as the head football coach at the University of Arkansas. Athletic Director Frank Broyles today recommended to the administration that Jack Crow be given a new 5-year contract and cited many of the things that Jack Crow has done in the past year, particularly from regard to recruiting and with academics and so forth. And so we'll hear more from Coach Broyles about Jack Crow and the possible extension of that new contract. And Jack Crow is certainly not going to have an enviable position as Arkansas's head football coach beginning in 1992 going into the SEC. The schedule was released today that Arkansas will play. It's an 8-game conference schedule, and let's take a look at it. The Hogs on September 12th will open at South Carolina, then come to Little Rock to take on Alabama on September the 19th. We'll be playing Georgia in Fayetteville October the 3rd, at Tennessee on October the 10th, Ole Miss in Little Rock the 17th, on October the 31st at Auburn, and then at Mississippi State November the 7th. Then LSU will close out the regular season November the 28th in Fayetteville. The champions of the East, the champions of the West will meet possibly in the Peach Bowl in Atlanta for the right to go on to the Sugar Bowl. And so it's a big, big schedule, and that's 1992 for Jack Crow in Arkansas. We'll be back with some final comments in just a moment. I want to remind you that the last day of the split duck season is this Sunday in the state of Arkansas, And today, some hunters had some outstanding luck. You're looking at some action out of Bayou Bartholomew in Lincoln County. This is private land. They got their limit. It's near Stuttgart. Overall, the season has been very, very good for the number of ducks harvested. And the Game and Fish Commission still reminds you that even though we're closing in on the last weekend of the duck season, don't let up from a safety standpoint. Still be very, very careful. Because of the cold weather, be careful of the hypothermia and that type of thing. But Sunday, again, is the last day of the split duck season in Arkansas. There's been some comment over the steel shot, by the way, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But all in all, I think duck hunters are going to agree that it's been a great season. I'd like to wear that hat. I think I've got that coonskin hat right there on my head in the background. We're having a great time down here in Gillette. Gina and Andy?
You're free to eat now, Paul.
Oh, well, I've got to help load the truck, and then I'll come back in and eat.
Oh, nature lovers, you'll want to stay tuned. We have a story for you coming up next.
He died at 36 from cancer, leaving behind a legacy of laughs and unanswered questions. Now Entertainment Tonight has got the inside story on Andy Kaufman.
This is called...
Even though it's gone, or so gone. I can learn to live without you. Give me time and I can make it on my own. All right. Loving you to me ain't easy. Losing you will change my life, no doubt. But in a way, I'm glad it's over. In a
Although I just want to get up and dance. At this time, we have a family in our community that is deserving of this award. At this time, will Bill Razzle with the D-Web Publishing Company come forward to make a presentation. It would be a great opportunity to honor a local family and a member of the Farmers and Businessmen Club who put on this gala fair. At this time, I would like to present a plaque to the Richard Gordon family, South Arkansas County Farm Family of the Year. I've got a note here, but I wouldn't dare read it. I'm going to let Richard tell you about his family because I know I would miss somebody. You know who your friend is?
Well, we're grateful to be recipients of this award. And I think one of the main reasons is because my wife felt that we have $4 wife, Thelma. Our youngest daughter, Julie. She's in the 11th grade. Susan, our oldest. Our husband, Randy Harrison. And our third daughter, our second daughter, Gay. And her husband, Sam Kennedy. And Laura couldn't be here tonight, so that would be our four daughters. We're appreciating this board. Thank you.
Cooperation of the Gillette High School, this Coon Supper will not be possible. The school works with the farmers and businessmen in every way so that our guests can enjoy this event. At this time, I would like to introduce the Superintendent of School District 66, Mr. Don Wilson. Well, I know everybody can hear Phil. I guess you can hear me in the back. You hear me? I want to welcome everyone to the 48th Annual Coon Supper. You know, that's 48 years that we've held the Coon Supper, and every year it's just been fantastic. I believe we had to stop a few years. I think there was a war in there, and we may have had some real bad weather one time. But this is the 48th year. You know, we're extremely proud of our student community. We're a very small school. We have excellent students. We have good teachers. Our test scores are excellent. And we're extremely proud of our school. Also, I'd like to notice the backdrop. Remember our troops in Operation Desert Shield. Here in Gillette, we have 3 former graduates that are in Saudi Arabia right now. I'd like to acknowledge these 3 young men. They are Reggie Smith, Timothy Noble, and Dean Bazier. And they're over there right now. We wish them well. How many of you are here for your first Coon Supper? Please raise your hand high. All right, we got a good group. Okay. Tell you what, you're going to enjoy yourself now. It gets better as we go along. I'd also like to thank everyone that took part in getting this gym to look like an auditorium. It took a lot of hard work to move all these tables and get the stage put up and all the back decorations and just everything to do with it, and all the preparations being made. And I'd like to thank our administration, our faculty, our staff, and especially our students. They work. We hope you have a good time, enjoy yourself, and have a safe trip home. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Greg Holloway. He's president of the Farmers Businessmen Association, and he'll continue the program.
Hello, and welcome to the 48th Annual Coon Supper. I was a little nervous about getting up here, and I talked to a couple of people. They said, well, do one of 2 things. Either tell a joke or look out upon the audience and pretend everybody's naked. Well, I don't have a joke, so cover up. We'll tell you a little bit about our club. The Farmers and Businessmen's Club is a nonprofit organization. We work to assist the community and the schools in the betterment for youth programs. All the proceeds go back into the community and the school for, like I say, youth programs such as basketball, football, baseball, and girls softball. We have a membership, the Farmers and Businessmen's Club. If it wasn't for a lot of the non-members, we could never put on this again. We have the women from Gillette and Titchener that prepare the sweet potatoes, the rice, and the cakes. And a lot of the non-members around are helping the service tonight also. So I'd like to thank all of them if you would. And tonight is a special night. We want to pay tribute to a man who has worked for many years, has put in countless hours of his time into the community and to the Farmers and Businessmen's Club. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. James Carroll Place to come join me. We have, like I said, a special presentation, and I want on behalf of the club, we are very proud and honored to present this plaque to Mr. Place, and I want to read the inscription of the local club. Hold your applause. Here we go. It says, Mr. Coon Supper, in honor and appreciation for his devotion and concern for the Gillette-Tichenor community and for over 45 years of dedication and hard work as Master of Ceremonies at the Gillette Coon Supper, this club honors Mr. James Carroll Place with the title Mr. Coon Supper. Gillette Farmers and Businessmen's Club.
I didn't intend to say anything, but I live by myself now, and I'd read taking that thing home, wondered what I'm gonna put in bed with me, and I know the risk. I'm just not able to participate tonight because I've had a knee operation. You know what that is, and I know you're gonna miss me singing and all that sort of stuff, but that thing's not quite where I can have it yet. And I thank every one of you. Hope you have a good time, and we appreciate this honor.
Now, before I introduce our next guest, I want to thank each of you for coming and hope you have a good time and enjoy yourselves. And at this time, I'd like to introduce to you Carissa Rushing, Miss Arkansas 1990.
Thank you so much for having me here. I've been looking forward to this all year. It's been my first Coon Supper. I thought there may have been some certain kind of etiquette to eating coon. I was sitting over there and I had a fork, but I didn't have a knife. I wanted to be very dainty and cut my meat off the bone. And I looked down and I saw this little stick. So I stuck my stick in there and got a little out of my fork and ate it. About that time, Greg said, Carissa, I think that stick is to stir your coffee with. So forgive my ignorance on coon etiquette. A few years back, I went with my dad to a benefit. He was a member of the Salem Volunteer Fire Department, and every year they would have a benefit to raise money. And usually it was a pancake supper, but that year it was a wild game dinner. And I had everything from rattlesnake to bear to pheasant, you name it. I had everything but coon, and I can tell you, I missed something that day because it is very good. It really is. Is the sheriff in here that brought the message to me over from Holloway's house? Is he in here anywhere? Is he back? Oh, he's out front. Let me tell you what happened. About 5 or 6 months ago, this little fluffy gray kitten came to my front door. And I just fell in love. But you have to understand my dad. He's a very easygoing, laid-back man. But he hates one thing in life. And that is cats. So I thought, well, I'm usually pretty good about sweet-talking my dad into doing things. And so I just kind of fed the cat and he kind of hung around, and I talked my dad into letting me stay. My dad says, okay, Carissa, under one condition, you have that cat spayed. I said, okay. So a few months went by, and I drove up in the driveway, and there the cat was in the front yard. Tina was there with another kitty. So I thought, oh, here we go, it's time to go to the vet. So I took Tina to the vet the next morning, and about 4:30 that afternoon, I thought I would call to see how she was doing. And the vet said, Carissa, everything went fine. We had one slight alteration, though. We castrated him. Needless to say, my cat's name isn't Tina anymore. And the cat had a rough time with that slight alteration. He nearly died. But during that time, my dad also fell in love with the cat. And he would have it curled up there at his feet while he watched TV and he's laying on the sofa. 2 days ago, he ran away. And the funny thing was, my dad said, well, you know, a neutered cat, you don't have to worry about it roaming. So I knew something had happened to my cat. Just a minute ago, the sheriff, I was in the hallway's house, and a sheriff came and he said, handed me a little piece of paper that said, your father just called to tell you that your cat returned back home. So I thought that was very nice of him. How many of you out there are actually coon hunters? Are there real live coon hunters here? They're mostly back there, huh? My dad is a big hunter, and he hunts everything but coon, and I couldn't figure out why. But I think I found out a few years back. My brother was about 17, 18, about the age of these guys here, and he had this friend named Travis, and Travis was always getting my brother into big trouble. Now, I'll never forget, one night he came over and he said, he had a big slug of tobacco in his mouth, and my mother was just like, he said, hey, Anthony, want to go coon hunting? He said, the dogs are in the truck ready to go. So my brother said, yeah, let's go. So they took off. Midnight rolled around, and I noticed the light was on in the kitchen, and I went down to see what was going on. And my mom said, well, your brother's not back, and you know, he knows it's past his curfew. So I was like, oh, I'll go to bed. So I went back to sleep. Woke up again about 3 o'clock, went downstairs. She was still down there pacing the floor and wringing her hands. Walking down, I said, Mom, you know, relax. There's got to be a logical explanation. So I think she was getting ready to call the sheriff. And about that time, the headlights came up the driveway. My brother got out and came to the house, and Mom said, yeah, where have you been? He said, well, you know, we've been hunting coons. Mom says, well, why didn't you call me and let me know you were going to be late? And my brother looked at her and said, Mom, there's not telephones on pine trees out there in the woods. Then my mom says, okay, let me smell your breath. I know you haven't been out in the woods all this time. So he passed the breathalyzer test, and he finally came up with the excuse that the dogs got lost. Now, I don't know if if that occurs often, but my dad said that's why I never go coon hunting. They don't. We meet every night, and we run
Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to Gillette High School. That's the wrong one. You know, looking out among the audience, I didn't see too many politicians that way. I was planning on running for political office since this is an off year, and but there was three things that's going to keep me from it. First thing, I'm terrible at keeping dinner check records. About 3.5 years ago, I cut up all my credit cards, and even though it would save the state money if I were elected, there is no way that I'm going to take two ladies to the same motel room. You know, we're right close, right after the Christmas holidays and New Year. I spent New Year's with my sister. Well, Bill and Earl Long and Jamie came down there. We had a real nice New Year's dinner. And while we were talking, Jamie was reminiscing a little bit. She said, you know, Bill and Earl and I have been married a long time. She said, I can still remember our first date. It's really vivid in my mind. And I said, why is that, Jamie? She said, I had to slap him 4 different times. I said, Jamie, that doesn't sound like Bill and Earl. Why did you have to slap him? She said, well, we went out to eat, then went to the drive-in, and I had to slap him 4 times. I said, I thought he was dead. Then Bill and Earl, in response to that a little bit later, he said, Bill, I don't know what's wrong. You know, I can sleep anywhere. On the rocks, on the floor, and if y'all know Bill and Earl, that's the truth. But he said, here lately, I can't hardly sleep at night. And he said, I don't know what to do. And I said, well, Bill and Earl, I know what it is. The high cost of all this equipment, lower beating prices. I said, it's stress. I said, hey, take my advice. Just don't take your troubles to bed. He said, Phil, I can't do that. Jamie wouldn't have any place to sleep. But then he decided, you know, the water bed. He said, maybe that'll do it. I'll just get me a water bed. Well, he did. About 4 or 5 days later, I said, well, Bill and Earl, did the water bed help? He said, well, I thought maybe it would help. And, you know, after we've been married as long as we have, I had a little bit of zest to our life and everything. But he said, no, but I got a nickname for it. I said, a nickname for a water bed? I said, what is it? He said, the Dead Sea. You know, it's hard to imagine that just 300 and something miles down south here, all through the years, that tradition and life, the way of life is so different. A number of years ago, Butch Turner and I were going down to South Louisiana to visit my parents. Well, it was Butch's first trip, and he was a little bit apprehensive about going down there because he'd always heard, you know, Cajuns carry grudges. If they like you, they like you. If they don't like you, they won't have anything to do with it. He was sort of afraid he might offend somebody. And all the way down there, I was trying to assure him, Butch, don't worry. If you see somebody do it just like they're doing it, don't worry. Well, he did. The first thing that happened, went to a crawfish bowl. People were popping out the tails, peeling tails, eating them, and then one of the buddies across the table stuck the head part in his mouth. Butch said, what Bill's going to do what they're doing? So he does the same thing. Everything going fine. All of a sudden, the guy next to him kills his drink. Butch says, I've got to do this. Kills his drink. Well, I thought everything was great. I mean, he wasn't doing anything wrong. We get back to my folks' house that night, 2-story house, only one bed left vacant. Butch and I have to bunk together. So we get to bed. About 15 minutes after we were there, I slid down out of bed with the cover back, got on my knees,
I heard a little commotion. There on the other side of the table, Ben, Butch slides out and gets on his knees. I said, Butch, what are you doing? He said, I'm doing what you're doing. I said, you better not be. The pot's over here on my side. Every farmer likes his off time, and usually the winter time for hunting and everything is really whenever you can get into fun time for a farmer. Well, there was a large group of farmers in this area who went down bird hunting in Texas one time, and we hunted hard. Hunted 2 days, all staying in the same bunkhouse, wasn't getting much sleep at all. So finally, the second night, we decided we'd go out and eat. Well, we found a pretty nice restaurant. We were all in there, and everybody was tired, grumpy, just about dead. I was sitting across the table from Walt Lowe. In a minute, Walt said, well, they hadn't brought the food yet. I gotta go to the bathroom. So he gets up, and I just happened to be watching him, and he walked along. I knew we were in trouble. They had a sign up there that said, restrooms. Then underneath it says, use stairs. Well, I barely did make it there in time to stop him. But I led him on down the stairs. He went on in the restroom. He was there in the restroom. He kept staying in there, and I was starting to need to go to the restroom. And in a minute, Walt comes out and he said, Phil, are you going to go in there? I said, well, I thought about that. I've been waiting out here. He said, I'm going to save you some money. I said, save me some money? He said, yeah. He said, don't buy any gum out of that machine in there. He said, it tastes just like rubber. Whenever farmers have sons that want to, or daughters that want to continue in the farming operation, sometimes the amount of land you have may be a deterrent to your farming activities. Well, Buzzy and Barbara Menard was getting to that position. Their son wanted to farm. They've got 2 twins coming up, so Buzzy starts looking around for some more farm ground. Finally, he thinks he found some. Now he knows whenever he goes to Pine Bluff on that Google East Road what these big old piles of dirt are. It's buckshot. Well, he gets over there and he does real well. And he's able to buy Barbara shoes, gets her a nice little T-bird. Everything's going pretty good. But one day, Buzz comes on and he says, Barbara, weren't you so upset about your lips pooching out? She said, well, Buzz, I tell you, I got pretty near everything I want and need, but I was reading a magazine, and it said in there that a milk bath is good for your complexion. He said, a milk bath? She said, if I could just have a milk bath, said, that's the last thing I want until tomorrow, anyhow. Well, he said, Gary Neal over there at the grocery store got me a milk. I'll go see him. So he does. Buzzy says, Gary, you got any milk? He said, well, yeah, I got a grocery store here. He said, why? He said, well, brought some over there to the house. He said, where do you want it? He said, pour it in the bathtub. Gary Neal said, Buzzy, you got to be crazy. He said, no. He said, Barbara read that it was good for your complexion. He said, Buzzy, you're not going to waste milk in a bathtub. He said, just bring it on over there. He said, Barbara will pay you when you get there. He said, okay. So Buzzy turned around and started out the store. Gary Neal says, wait 1 minute, Buzz. He said, do you want pasteurized? He said, oh no, just up to your navel would be enough. we come to the part that we really enjoy doing, because sitting over here to the right is our football team, and maybe some scattered here and there and younger, because we do have an overflowing crowd. You know, the coach of the football team, after last year's successful season, was really excited about this year's team, with just cause. But after the first day of practice, Coach Jimmy Don, I was talking to him, and he says, "Boy, I don't know." I said, "Why?" He said, "I don't know, Bill." He said, "I called my quarterback out there, Greg Hackney." He said, "I had a football in my hand, and I just stuck it in Greg's stomach." And I said, "Greg, do you think you can pass this?" And Greg said, "Coach, I don't even think I can swallow the thing." But we are very proud of our football team. Their head coach really did a job along with his assistants. At this time, may I present to you the head coach of the Gillette Wolves, Jimmy Don Dupree.
Now, I know all y'all can't hear me, but I've got to, if you notice anything, I'm standing a little taller this year. Last year, when the Coon Supper was over, Butch Turner and Larry Smith told me, Coach said, "If you'll do half as good next year as you did this year, we'll give you a raise." I thought, oh boy. So luckily, we came out half as good as we did last year. We won the district championship in junior high. I thought they was talking about a monetary raise. They gave me a Coke box. That doesn't speak to me. 1989 was a good year, and 1990 was even a greater year for us. I'd like to thank the farmers and businessmen for having us here as a football team. You see these young men wearing jackets. The farmers and businessmen are kind enough to purchase jackets for these young men in their sophomore year. And as they go through their junior year and their 12th grade year, they receive other awards that go with it. We appreciate them for their continual support and for having us here. I'm not going to tell you all the activities that these guys sponsor, because everybody seems to left out some of the more important ones. The farmers and businessmen contribute money each year to the Arkansas County Museum, which is just south of town here. They have donations to the Jody Partridge Cookout. I'm trying to remember all these off the top of my head. The Gillette Educational Endowment Fund. It's more than athletics. It's everything that involves the community. Okay, successful season depends on many things. A lot of things have to fall in place. A lot of things have to happen. You have to have a bunch of luck. But one of the first things you have to have is good people to work with. I'm very lucky to have probably two of the greatest assistants you could ask for. At this time, I'd like to introduce them. Our assistant football coach and head basketball coach, Jay Colburn. Principal and assistant football coach, John Harris. It kind of gets a little touchy out there in practice every once in a while. When I have to tell the principal, you know, Coach, you've got to do this. He says, you remember in the morning, I'm the principal. But we have a lot of fun. It works out real well. There's a saying that behind every good man, there's a good woman. Well, I firmly believe that. And at this time, I'd like to introduce some people that have a lot to put up with from August to, well, this year past Thanksgiving. At this time, I'd like to introduce my wife, Angela Dupree, Mrs. Diane Howe, The next young, I say young lady, they're not about the same age. We have a school nurse that acts as our trainer in football. And she does a wonderful job. And I'd like to introduce Ms. Ginger Sullivan. I think she's here somewhere. She did go to work tonight. But if she ever retires, she will get. We have with us also our head girls basketball coach. This is her first year today in high school. I'd like to give her a good welcome. Her name is Miss Susan Livengood. Don't look worried about having to make a speech tonight. We'll let y'all cook this year. All right, I'd like to thank all of our fans throughout the year, our businesses, our parents. Our football team was 10-3 this year. We were beaten by the number 1 team twice and the number 2 team in the state, Class A. But our parents, our fans, businesses, everybody was so loyal throughout the year. These people cooked pre-game meals for us. They wrote newspaper articles, they filmed, they kept stats, they ran chains. It's impossible to name everything they did. I mean, signs were up every day, and up everywhere. They hang off the school, off the field house, off the goal post, and it's just nice to have that kind of support. We found out a lot of teams don't have that kind of support. It showed when they took the field. Okay, at this time, I'd like to begin by introducing the Gillette Wolves. Now, if you would, hold your applause and let me get through each group of these young men. I believe we'll go a little bit quicker. At this time, I'd like to introduce our 9th graders. Now, these young men are District 8A champs 2 years in a row, and I would like to introduce them. I'm going to start in the middle and go backwards. Gavin Bauer, Craig Dupree, Kelly Haney, Kevin Jones, Derek Menard, Dustin Menard, Shannon Stevens, Slade White, Gunnar Woodbanks, Shannon Williams. These young men are 9th graders, and they went out with 2 great years. Now, just on the other side of these young men are 5 guys that every day they were running high for me by the time school was out. These were our managers, and the first 2 played on the junior high football team. We have Kurt James, Wes Long, Josh Hackney, Blake Kosire, and Peyton White. Let's give these young men a round. As I said a minute ago, behind every good man there's a good woman, but behind every good football team, there's a bunch of good young ladies out there that keep the crowd involved in the game. At this time, I'd like to introduce to you 9 pretty young ladies. I mean pretty. Our 2 mascots, Whitney Hayes and Rachel Rush. Now these were our junior high mascots, and they took turns in senior high also. And sitting next to them, we have Miss Lee Kennedy. She is Miss Arkansas County, and she's also cheerleader. Next to her is Julie Gordon and Lynn Cash. Sitting next to Lynn is Sloan Spielberg. Now, I'm going to mess up. She is young Miss Grand Prairie. Next to Sloan is Leslie Sexton, and she is Miss Gillette. Next to Leslie is Jill Howe, and she was our 1990 homecoming queen. And next to Jill is Mandy Brown. These young ladies, they're active in everything in school. That's kind of expected of all of our students anyway. I'd like to give them a big This time, I'm very proud to have the honor and privilege to introduce to you the Class A number 4 ranked 1990 Gillette Wolves. We were ranked number 4, but we were only beaten by the number 1 and number 2 team. The team had a record this year of 10-3. Our team was smaller, but better. I think we proved that about 10 times. These young men have proved this not only on the athletic field, but in academics as well. Our overall team grade point average is 2.61. Out of the seniors, we have 11 seniors. Out of the ones that have taken the ACT test, we have an average score of 20. These young men have not only I'm going to introduce these young men, and Will, let me get them all introduced, and then we'll give them a hand. Beginning on the top row, we have sophomore Jeremy Wallace. Sophomore Donnie Slater. A sophomore Billy Sexton. A sophomore John Isaiah. A sophomore Tracy Lane. A sophomore Sammy Hudson. A sophomore Scott Griffin. And our last sophomore, Tim Dudley. Beginning down here on this end, a junior, Don Wheeler. A junior, Jason Roberts. Heath Parker. Charlie Page. Charlie was an honorable mention All-District player this year. Kerry Massagill. Matt Lowe. Bobby Howard. Brad Haynes, Chris Hackney, and Bartley Call. These are our junior class. Our seniors, we have Jody Williams, who was an honorable mention All-District, Bobby Whiteside, Ronnie Smith, Scott Shepard, we have Doug Roach, who's an All-District player, Myron Kennedy, who was honorable mention All-District. We have Philip James, who was All-District. We have Greg Hackney, that was All-District, his 11th and 12th grade year. We have Wayne Denman, who was All-District, his 11th and 12th grade year. And Wayne was named to the Class A All-State team. We have Brian Clausen, who was All-District 2 years. We have Timmy Bitley, an All-District player. These young men did a great job for us this year, and they provided some very exciting moments. I'd like to give a big round of applause. Each year, the team votes on a player that is called, or as they feel, the best teammate of the year. This award is given in memory of a young man by the name of Bob Coble. Bob was killed in Vietnam in 1968. This award each year is presented to the young man that exemplifies the spirit of being a good teammate and a good team leader. This year, the Gillette Wolves has selected a young man that was a quiet leader, but a funny leader. He could break practice up at any minute with just one sentence, but he could also get another fellow going just real easy. This guy was a great pleasure to be around. He was a very good player for us. He made many key plays. He has a 3.1 grade point average. As I said, he was a great player to be around. The Gillette Wolves of 1990 have voted Doug Roach as the outstanding player. to most of our teammates, or to most of our players, this is probably a better reward than making All-State or All-Star or a little All-American. Because it means you have respect for 28 other people on the team. Thank you very much.
This time, the G Club would like to make this presentation awards to the coaches, to our trainer, and to our newspaper columnists. So would the coaches and Mrs. Carolyn Sullivan and Ms. Junior Sullivan come to the podium, please. This year, the G Club is a little low on funds. Coaches always saying, don't get us nothing, but we have to give them something. And this year's gift, they have some good sentimental value. So we're going to do it. For our head coach, Coach Newbury, we bought him a videotape, put some highlights of the films on there from all our games. And each player is on there thanking Coach and telling about their greatest moments and stuff like that. For our assistant coaches and our trainer and newspaper writer, we gave him a scrapbook, and it's got thank you notes and memorabilia and so forth.
He forgot to tell you that I'm the sponsor of the G Club, and I told him they had $15. That's it. We got to get bigger and stronger. We're going to use our money to buy weight, the money we make, y'all. We had more money, but that's all I was going to allow. I've been here for 10 years, and our other coaches have been here long enough. That's the money we put back in school fair use. Thank you.
Now we have a few door prizes there. Number 211. You can come up afterwards and pick up your prize if you like. You can come up afterwards. Number 785. 785. So you way back on the back. Okay. Three. Look like Dennis Dixon, Alexander.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Governor Clinton and Senator Bumpers and all of my colleagues in state, and county, and city government, it's a pleasure to be here with you this evening and to share one of the great events of the year in Arkansas. Tamara Mohawk from the Arkansas Gazette Bureau in Pine Bluff asked me a few minutes ago why someone would come 1,000 miles from Washington to attend the Coon Supper. And I said, well, there's several reasons that I come each year. I said, one is I normally get to go duck hunting I can hear James Place saying, "Good night, Irene." But since his knee operation is not healed, I guess we'll all have to wait again until next year. Thirdly, I like to continue a tradition that began with me attending Coon Suppers a long time ago up at Gill, that's up in Lee County. It's been abandoned or disbandoned some years ago, and they used to call it the 3C dinner. It was a larger menu than we have here tonight. They had more than coon. The 3C stood for chicken, coon, and chitlins. And some of you might know where Gill is. It's a small community up in Lee County on the west side. And the event was held in a school that's much smaller than this building. In fact, about maybe a fourth the size of this one building where we are this evening. And it was so small they had to do all the cooking outside. Now, I don't know how many of you have smelled chitlins while it's cooking. Have any of you smelled chitlins? We got a few country folks here tonight. But the situation is that chitlins are good to eat, but they're not good to smell while they're cooking. And on one occasion, I remember I was standing in the line waiting to be fed, and it seemed to be downwind from the chitlins. And I stood there a long time in order for the clothes that I was wearing to become permeated with the fragrance of chitlin cooking. And as it is my custom, I try to get back to Washington on a weekend. In this case, it was Saturday night, so I rushed back to Memphis after the event, caught the late plane, arrived in Washington, and I was greeted by one of my favorite redcaps at the Washington National Airport who came to me and says, "Congressman," says, "I hope you get home in a hurry and change those clothes, because if you don't, you're going to stir up every dog in Washington." I guess tomorrow, the main reason I'm here, like everyone else, is to show my appreciation for this community and all the things they do to contribute to the welfare of the community and to the state. And I'll a special note of appreciation to Gillette and to DeWitt and all of Arkansas County for the tremendous support that you gave me in the 2 campaigns and elections that I had last year. And I'm here to say thanks for that. And a way that I have to say thanks is to announce the approval today of a $515,000 Farmers Home Administration loan for the City Utility Improvements Program. Congratulations, Mayor, on the first day you're in office. And finally, I want to show my support for this great athletic program, the kinds of programs that build good citizens and good Americans and good soldiers. It is well known that young men and women who are raised in small towns with the traditional values upon which our great nation was built turn out to be a lot better overall than their counterparts in the large metropolitan cities of our nation. So congratulations to you, Coach, and to you, Gene, for the success that you bring to us tonight in honoring our athletes. Let me say one final word. Several people have asked me about my initiative to help put our farmers in the automotive fuels business. As you know, for about 15 years, I've been working on establishing a national energy program. Just last month, on December the 12th, the U.S. Alternative Fuels Council, of which I am a member, passed a resolution which calls upon the President of the United States and the Congress to proceed forthwith to establish an energy security policy to displace dependence on foreign oil. And with the help that we will have in the Senate from Senator Bumpers, in the state from Governor Clinton, from the great legislature that we have in Arkansas. Now, I feel confident that before the end of this year, that our farmers will be planting biofuel producing crops on set-aside acres, which will not only bring a new source of income to our farm community, but will help America rid ourselves of dependence on Arab oil. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Next we will have Senator Dale Bumper.
Thank you very much. It's always a great honor to be here with you. Nobody from Arkansas Gazette asked me why I would come 1,000 miles to a Coon Supper, but Betty Bumpers did. I'm bordering on having pneumonia, and she says I'm also bordering on insanity. We're getting out tonight to come down here. It's one of those things that I thoroughly enjoy. And I'm pleased and honored to be with you as you salute these magnificent young men over here who are growing up in a town about the same size I grew up in, and where we thought we had to leave home to ever amount to anything. We had a saying in Charleston, Arkansas, the best place to live and the hardest place to make a living in America. But I wouldn't take anything in the world for having grown up in that small town. And so I glory in what you're doing here. You know, Congress and the federal government can't do nearly as much for you as you can do for yourself. One time when I was first elected governor, Betty and I would leave the mansion in the evening and go out and make a Chamber of Commerce speech. We'd be back to the mansion by 10 o'clock that evening, and one night, I remember early in my administration, I thought I'd just been elected king. And I went out to this banquet and they kept giving awards to everybody. And it just went on and on. And I knew those people had come to hear me deliver one of my barn-burning speeches. And I was getting pretty impatient. And so when I finally did get up, about 9:15, I said, if there's anybody else here that hasn't been recognized, would you please stand? That's about how much laughter I got that night. We got back to the airport, got on the plane to go home, and Betty said, you thought that was pretty cute tonight, didn't you? I said, as a matter of fact, I did. And she said, well, it wasn't.
January 15th, I will be inaugurated as Dale Bumper said. Thank all of you for what you've done to make this program successful and to make this school so successful. Let me just say one sort of final word or two about what's about to happen. January 15th, I will be inaugurated, as Dale Bumper said. I have proved, if nothing else, that I'm absolutely incapable of getting a promotion or a raise. And I want to thank you for that, at least to let me keep my job. And I don't care if you don't give me a raise. I'm very grateful to the people of this county and of this part of our state for that. There are a lot of legislators in this room tonight, and I, with no disrespect to anyone who's ever served there before, I honestly believe we're going to have the finest legislature we've had in at least 2 decades when the legislature convenes in January. And they want to do what is best for you and for our state and our future, for all these young people behind me. And I hope you will give them the benefit of your thoughts and give them your strong support as we move into this legislative session. I will say this, we have a lot of challenges. This is an uncertain time. You could argue that in an uncertain time, the legislature should act in an uncertain way. You could also argue that we should act in a decisive way. Of the 50 states in our country, about 35 are having serious budget problems now. Can't even pay their bills. In New York, they're talking about laying off 10,000 state employees. All over the country, they're talking about raising taxes or cutting services dramatically just to pay the bills. We are not in that shape. We're one of the 15 states that can pay its bills because we have a very disciplined, good budget system that I can't take credit for. We've had it for over 40 years. But it's illegal for me as your governor to permit us to spend money that we're not taking in. So we don't get into the trouble a lot of these other states do. On the other hand, we don't have as much money as we need to do what we ought to do in education. And I just want to say one thing about it here in this school. I honestly believe I'm a fifth generation Arkansan. My people came here right after the Civil War and settled in a place called Bodcock, southwest Arkansas. And I have spent my whole life both watching the history of Arkansas unfold and studying it. I got a whole room full of books that the governor's mentioned by Arkansas authors or about Arkansas. I've been collecting since I was 9 years old. I have been obsessed, I don't think it's too much to say, literally obsessed with our state, its history, its present, its future, ever since I was a little kid. I honestly believe two things about our state. Number one, it's always been one of the most wonderful places in this country because of our natural beauty and our small town values and the fact that our people work like crazy and basically do right in a time when those things are under great stress and attack all over the country. But secondly, for 154 years, we've always been one of the poorest places in America because of things which happened right at the beginning of our state's history. We were always more rural, we were always relatively less well educated, we always had obstacles to overcome. I believe, you have to decide whether you believe this, I believe that for the first time in the entire 154-year history of this state, we have the opportunity, for the first time, to have our destiny in our own hands, to generate more jobs and, more important, to raise the incomes of our people, not by going out of state or out of the country and begging somebody to invest money here, although that's a very important thing, but simply by raising our educational levels to the level of the country's average and by proving that we can compete economically with good transportation systems and other economic programs. And I want you to know why I believe that. Because money and jobs and material are moving around the world faster than ever before, and income opportunities, good income opportunities, follow one thing today: skill level. What do you know and what can you learn? And so I honestly believe that this is the time when we should not be timid. We ought to reach out and do what we can to make our state competitive because our future, our economic future, is in our hands now. And I'm tired of seeing these children grow up and have to leave our state to make a decent living when they ought to be able to stay here and earn as much money as they could anywhere else in the country and be a part of making our state a great place. But in order to do it, we got to send more of our kids to college and keep them there. We've got to do a much better job of educating our young people who don't go to college through apprenticeship programs and better training programs. We have to do a better job of teaching everybody who's in the workforce now to read at the high school level. These things are not terribly expensive, but they have to be done. I'm going to ask the legislature to guarantee a tuition scholarship to any Arkansas college, to any graduate of any high school with a B average or better that comes from a family with an income of $25,000 a year or less. I think it'd be the best money we ever spent. I'm going to ask the legislature to spend nearly $1 million to put a satellite uplink in at Conway, which will help this school district by broadening the number of courses that you can access here on satellite technology. Small schools today, if they take maximum advantage of technology and offer courses that 10 years ago only the largest schools could offer, and often with better instruction because of technology. This school district here, when we passed the school standards, got ahead of almost every other small school in Arkansas by offering German with satellite technology. And I'm telling you, you can go to any state in this country and they'll tell you they can't get enough physics teachers, advanced math teachers, or language teachers. We have got to use technology, even in the larger schools. And we're going to try to make sure that you have access to everything you need here so that your children can enjoy all the things that we celebrate here and be deprived of nothing. And we can do it for not very much money, but it costs some money. And the final thing I want to say is we ought to raise the money it takes to raise our teachers out of 50th place in teacher salaries. The school teachers in this state have signed. Some of you aren't clapping, but I want you to listen if you don't believe it. school teachers in this state have financed the implementation of school standards because we have deferred pay increases year in and year out. Only the school teachers have gone as long as the government without a pay increase in some of these schools. And I'm telling you, we have done it. And most of them have done it unapologetically. Most of them have believed in what they were doing. Now, a lot of people are sitting here thinking, well, if you pay the teachers more, you're going to get better education. That would be true if everybody were as dedicated as the people that we've honored here tonight and if nobody was going anywhere. But the truth is that people are coming in and going out all the time. And I had a heartrending conversation with a man from North Arkansas the other day that said that he had lost almost 1/3 of his faculty in 1 year. And when he had to do interviews, he was embarrassed because he had to hire some people who weren't qualified because the pay was so low. And I'm telling you, folks, I know we can't make our teachers the best paid teachers in the country. We're 48th in income and we got the 15th largest payroll because we got a lot of rural school districts. But we don't have to be last. And if we can do it, we're going to lift them out of last place, and I hope you'll support that. And I hope you will remember what I said. You got to decide what you believe is. I believe if we're competitive in education, we're competitive in our road system, we're competitive in our economic growth, you will see the incomes of the people in this state rise to the national average pretty quickly. And it's the first time we have ever had a chance to do it. On our own, the opportunities will come to us. The new president of the University of Arkansas is here tonight. He's out there nodding his head. It would be the best thing that ever happened to that university system, I predict. We got to get more kids going up there and stay. So I hope you will support this and tell your legislators that you want us to go up there and do honor to the work that's being done in this school and support it. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Plastic glasses, your water glasses are your souvenir. We wish to thank each and every one of y'all for coming out